Right, what about then? Let's move into some of the other ones. So I actually think we don't have to go by like order. Let's do the G2 topic, Dom, like you said. Mate, bearing in mind G2 is probably still just going to fucking cakewalk this entire season finals, win this finals, get the fucking #1 seed and go to Worlds. There better be some fucking hyperbolic time chamber shit going to happen in that boot camp, mate, because I'm with you. This has been whack. Like, I don't even think the way they won the last split was super impressive. Like, you just looked at the other teams was shit. This first matchup against BDS was disgraceful, mate. Like, at this point, I almost feel like they just never lose scrims or something. They look like they think they can't lose games at this point. Like, this isn't fucking world-class League of Legends. I'm with you, Dom. I wanted it to be that there's, even if I think LEC is not a good reason, they're so far above it. It's like, who cares? They're the true hope, you know. They were down in they were mired in the muck of LEC in these games, man. This was messy as fuck.
Yeah, it was messy as fuck. Also, like, the thing about G2 was when you watch them, they always draft in like ways that you believe to be suboptimal if you go off just what meta strength is around the world. Like, if you have the same idea that Korean and Chinese teams have about like the strength of, you know, like Alistar, for example, and you know, Tristana, Jace, Maokai, like all these types of picks, if you have that type of read, then you think they're drafting suboptimally. And in like game 1, for example, they picked the Kled into the Renekton. Like, I know that it's a bad matchup for Kled, but BB's just winning it. So great. Like he's winning the Kled matchup. Perfect. But then game 2, they try to run the Eve in another spot where I'm like, wow, isn't this just a horrible Eve game? And it looks dreadful. It looks like it just solo loses the game, that it's just such a useless champion that they aren't able to win. And then it's like, wait, so are they geniuses? And they have like a meta read that no one else has, or are they completely fucking lost in the meta? And then like the way that the games kind of broke out in that 4-game series is games 1 and 3, they look like geniuses. Games 2 and 4, they look, you know, like they don't know what they're doing. And you're like, all right, I mean, I guess they stole one of the games they should have lost and they went 3-1. I don't feel good about it. Like, who feels good about watching those games?
Broken?
Say that again. We lost the first words. What do you say? What's broken?
I'm saying, is Cogmore Brom blind broken? You know, like they were picking,
Yeah.
you know, they can just pick whatever you want, you know, just pick.
I mean, pretty sweet, Peter. I would transition the question like this. That's the problem. We can't tell, are they super geniuses? Because since everyone knows that story, As Remain's done a good job of marketing that every split they just like win all the scrims and everyone cancels all the scrims on them, right? If people want to be generous, Peter, then what they do in the last split, for example, is like you're saying, they just say, right, they're obviously so far ahead in scrims that they're not showing anything. They're just saying, right, well, basically, until you can beat this Cogmore Brom, we're just going to pick it whenever we want and just fuck it. It's only a group stage game anyway, so who cares, right? But the more you see of some of the playoff games and stuff, sometimes it seems like actually they just really do think that was the best. Like, how much of this is like, do they have like some crazy bag from scrims and they're still letting it out, or do you think this is their meta read?
I mean, I just think that they're just going to be picking this Cog Brom blind, and then when they go internationally, BLG or some of these like just Asian teams are just going to be like, oh, you blinded Brom, we're just going to pick Lulu plus Aphelios or some shit, and they're just going to run over the whole fucking lane. Like, it'll be impossible for the Cog to lane. It hasn't happened in LEC, so maybe the Braum is actually that OP and you can kind of lane with it. But I mean, Braum is a champion that historically has a lot of weakness. Like, you can't really fight back into enchanters with this pick. And you know, for some reason, no one outside of like, I guess the end of LCK was willing to actually play the enchanters. So it's very weird to me watching them play. Like, I can't imagine that these picks are actually as good as they make them seem, knowing what like other teams are doing and how they approach these types of like blind angles.
Nobody in Europe like plays Bard that well. Like, you could put Bard into Cogmore Brom is pretty insane. But like, there's also, you know, they were even picking into Rakan.
But he's on their team.
Yeah,
so forget that one.
Yeah. But they were even picking into stuff like Rakan. Normally, you can't pick Rakan into Brom, but they found a way to make it work. I mean, what I would say though is with G2, there is a chance that they make other teams overthink, right? And you know, if you're going to be worse than a Chinese team, it's worse than a Chinese team playing stuff that the Chinese team probably hasn't played against. Then try to play meta into them and just get stomped, right? You're not gonna win the game playing meta into JDG, right? Even if you're T1, right? So I think there's benefits to this. I think that playing with their food. It felt a bit like they were playing with their food in the BDS series. I'll be honest. Like
maybe game 2, but then like by game 4, I was like, wait, like this game is a game you should once again lose, and then you're going to game 5 versus BDS. So like I can understand that for one game if they like stomped games 1, 3, and 4. But by game 4, I was like, oh, I mean, I guess they won, but I just wanted more. I don't know. I just expected more.
I mean, I will say they are insane in scrims. But it's worth saying that G2 has the only best of series, like the only decisive best of series, because I think they lost like they were in lower bracket, right? But the only decisive best of series they lost all year was against Mad Lions, right? In spring, they've won literally every other series when it mattered. So, let's see how. I mean, obviously this team is going to win the league unless Ilyoya goes absolutely crazy like he did in that series. And I think it was Ilyoya and Chasey, right, going really really insane in the spring.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Mad Lions beating G2 if G2 plays in the same form. I thought Mad Lions' form looked improved.
I mean, Kazi looked fucking banging, mate.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Kazi, right? Like his team fighting's always been insane. It's just about laning, getting into that stage. But because sometimes he takes too many risks that he shouldn't take. But yeah, it's possible. But I'll see when G2 lose, right? When they get destroyed, maybe they'll push it too far. But I think this double elimination bracket really benefits them a lot because it means that they can pull out their cheese, they can look like geniuses, and then when they go into lower bracket, they can like sort of try hard, right?
By the way, one thing I do appreciate on Twitter is that even though obviously in the modern day you can get the PDF of all the votes for All Pro and you can find out who voted for who and who put who like 1, 2, 3, and all, you can find out all the info you want. The ballots to get released publicly, even though to be fair, a lot of fans don't go and view them. Right? Peter also always puts his on Twitter if people don't know, and oftentimes if people ask him, and he will even do sort of like mini AMA and reply like why he has this person over this person or whatever. So I want to get your take on this actually, Peter, because one thing me and Monty have been in agreement on independently, but it turns out when we compared notes, we're just on the same page on this one, is when I look at G2 this year, and obviously each of the splits in the metas were different, but they've kept the same 5-man lineup and they have been the best team overall the whole year. To me, I would, if I had to give MVP of this year, it's easy. I give it straight to Mickey X, mate. I think he has been so outrageously good. Do you have a different perspective? Is there a different player you would highlight on G2 as the best player?
Mickey's the best player in the league by like a significant margin. And you know, I think some of the hate that Caps gets is completely overblown. I'm gonna be honest. It's like he's not playing like 2019 peak Caps, but he's not bad. You know, he's still like one of the. I had people replying to that saying he doesn't even deserve top 4 All Pro, which is insane.
Oh really? Holy moly! Okay.
But like you know, for me, it's just Mickey. I mean, I'm just trying to think who else you could maybe give it. Yike was good in summer. Was really really good in summer. BB is kind of playing more weak side on that team. So I mean, and Caps has huge variation. So I mean, I think Mickey is just the best. And the thing is, I think that's what gives them a chance, right? Like to me, I don't really care about the rest of the team, right? I think it's support is probably the most powerful role in the game right now. Since they changed the TP timers, and you know that they have a really good support, right? So that will give them a really good chance at what. So.
Yes. I'll even say, as much as we do this holistic thing where we're like, oh, look, these top Western teams have a chance. Spoiler, I'll make it really cynical for you guys. It was always just Mickey X and Hillsang teams. What are we talking about here? Like, even at the last Worlds, what maybe the chance was Trimby because he has his own, like, unique champion pool. If you actually want to beat these Asian teams, I've always said the position they're the most far ahead at is jungle and support, in my opinion. Like those positions, because the other ones, like even like a 10 out of 10 mid laner, you know how they roughly will play. An 8 out of 10 mid laner can look similar and do a similar function. The support players in Asia are cracked out if you don't watch the LPL, etc. Like they are unbelievably good what they can do. And the thing for me that makes Mickey X OP on this team is, mate, he's the only support in the West where he doesn't have that bullshit excuse of like, oh, he's just waiting for his meta. Next patch will be his meta. All the patches are Mickey X's patches. The patch where you play Nami, that's his patch. The patch where you play Braum blind, that's his patch. The patch where you play his Thresh and all the healers and fucking Pike, oh, that's all waiting the whole time. Leo, that's it. There's no patch right now that Mickey X would be bad on as far as I can tell. This guy's just fucking OP at his position.
Yeah,
I mean,
His Heimer was like the best in the league when that was meta. It came out of nowhere.
Even played the Jarvan game at one point, if you remember. He was ridiculous.
Yeah, and if it's not his patch, he'll make it his patch. He'll just start blinding Braum with Emacs, and then that'll be his patch.
I mean, exactly. Like, to me, I actually think he's not the best Emilio in the league. I think his Emilio and Yumi aren't that good, but you're never picking Emilio and Yumi and blind into Mickey. He's just going to murder you. Like, so yeah. So to me, that puts a lot of pressure on other teams to give counterpick to, like, he plays well with counterpick as well. So yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I don't necessarily think the best supports, like, in the world is not at Worlds. I don't think, like, Mako's in a Worlds this year. So you know, we'll see. But yeah, until G2 lose doing this in Europe, you know, I find it very hard to judge against. You know, like, push your limits, see what you could do, and you know, maybe you'll end up with egg on your face if you lose to Mad Lions in the grand finals. But you know, you can, through testing your limits in draft, it doesn't just have to be inside the game. And obviously the Evelyn pick was complete garbage. It was like one of the worst Evelyn angles I've ever seen in my life, right? But you know, find a way to get a good challenge. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem that I have with these angles is like a lot of times I'm fine with you going outside of what the meta is if you're playing something that makes sense in the context of the game. But sometimes they'll, like this Evelyn, you go into the game and we're like, everyone in the fucking SAC, we're just talking about it. We're like, this is just a horrible game. Like, I would hate to play Evelyn here. Like, all the junglers like, oh my god, this is like a nightmare because you can't assassinate anyone. That's the whole point of the fucking champion. So when they pick it, it's very hard to be like, oh well, you know, I can see what they were going for. When they pick something that doesn't make sense, I can't see what they're going for unless they just win things that you don't think are winnable. Like, I don't know when Kled is supposed to beat Renekton. Like, I don't see how that's possible. Like, if I think about the Renektons that I know, if you think about 369 Renekton, Bin Renekton, these motherfuckers are Renekton, I can't imagine them losing to Kled. Like, if they lost to Kled top in lane, like, they're getting fucking benched or some shit. Like, that is just not possible. But then it just worked out, I guess, this time. So, I mean, they're just like rewriting the game, I guess.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.